Bună ziua și bine v-am regăsit la un nou episod din podcast de Cartier. Așa cum v-ați obișnuit la ultimele ediții, eu sunt Claudiu Jojatu și în seara asta voi fi gazda voastră la podcast de Cartier powered by Cartier Hub, Drumul Taberelor. Din cartierul Drumul Taberelor. Câteva cuvinte despre mine, în cazul în care nu m-ați mai auzit vorbind în una din celelalte ediții. Eu sunt cofondator la viața de freelancer.ro. Este un proiect pentru freelanceri. Am strâns o comunitate drăguță de aproape 20.000 de oameni acolo. În seara aceasta o să avem un episod un picuț atipic, pentru că avem un invitat care vorbește doar engleză. Așa că episodul va fi în engleză. Stați aproape oricum, vă garantez că merită. Cei doi invitați sunt foarte cool, au o poveste foarte mișto și abia aștept să-i întrebăm. Așa că iată, cu permisiunea voastră, o să încep să vorbesc în engleză. Hello. I just made the introduction in Romanian, and now we are switching to English. Hello and welcome.
Hi there. Thank you, Claudio. Nice to join you today.
Hey, Claudio. I'm really excited about this.
I'm also very excited. Thank you very much for accepting yes. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation. So today we are talking with Ryan and Anca. Obviously, Ryan is the person who speaks English, and Anca is the person who speaks Romanian. Since I'm pretty sure that I will not be able to present you as best as you can do it. For the people who are listening to us, please introduce ourselves, but not yourselves, but introduce each other. Who are you? What's your story?
I'll go first so I can introduce Anca. Does that sound good?
Yes, that's awesome. Thank you very much.
Man, I really appreciate you doing this in English. I know that's not necessarily the easiest thing to do, especially in the evening. So really thank you for putting yourself up for the challenge here. So I'll get started. Anca is a great leader here, a Drumul Taberei native, born and raised in the neighborhood. I am not, but she is. She is an incredibly creative person who really is passionate about helping other people, and I think that's how we got connected. We were running here in our office here in Militar, a after-school program, kind of a community program for kids in our neighborhood. There is a old railroad track that runs through the neighborhood, right? That doesn't really get used, although I have seen a train run on it a few times, a small train. And kind of this side of the neighborhood, I say this side of the tracks, has slightly different kids, and it's a different community. And they're no different than the kids on the other side of the track, but the neighborhood treats them as different, say it that way. And so we were running a program for kids here, and Anca has had a ton of experience working with kids and running kids programs. And so she started coming over here and volunteering her time. And our nonprofit, Good Bureau, was running this program, providing a safe place for kids to come and hang out, learn life skills. And Anca volunteered her time to do that. And so that's how we got connected. And I said, okay, she's coming over here for free, volunteering all the time. We need somebody to run this program. And we asked Anca to join the team full-time to run that. And so that's how she got started here at Good Bureau. And over the years, we've changed our programming. And Anca now helps run our Good Accelerator program, which we invest in entrepreneurial leaders in Romania that are doing good in society. Mm-hmm. And Anca runs that and coordinates that program. I think that's the gist. Is there any other, is that good enough intro, Claudio? Any other things I can answer about Anca in front of her?
I think that's good for now. We will explore more later on in the episode.
I think in short, what he meant to say was that I'm captivating and very smart.
There we go. That's what I said, right?
Yep. Anca, who is Ryan?
Oh, I don't like talking about myself, but I love talking about other people. So here it goes.
I was pretty sure about this. That's why I asked you to present each other.
Yes, and I very much appreciate that answer. Okay, so I would say that Ryan is the most American Romanian that I have ever met. I mean, he is the one person in this world that loves Mici more than my dad. And just so you know, I'm not overreacting or exaggerating. Instead of getting a normal birthday cake, Ryan has asked us at the office to get him a Mici birthday cake. And we actually made that dream come true 2 or 3 years ago. We gave him a Mici birthday cake. So That's one thing about Ryan. He's also a coffee guru. I mean, I want someone to look at me the way Ryan looks at a cup of good coffee. He knows all the places where you can get a good cup of coffee in Bucharest. Wherever we are, he knows there's a good place where you can get some coffee in there. Sometimes he confuses our office with the TV show The Office, and he feels like he's more like a Michael Scott kind of character. You know, like that. There's this line that Michael says, like, would I rather be feared or loved? Easy. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me. I feel like that's Ryan. But like, he's also my boss, so I have to say some good things. No, like on the more serious side of things, one thing that I love about Ryan is that he's one person that is constantly challenging himself, but also he's pushing other people to challenge themselves and kind of like take themselves and put themselves in situations and opportunities where they can discover, you know, more about themselves and their potential. He has the capacities to persuade other people to follow him in all kinds of stuff, from like starting a company to starting a war or making peace. He has this ability to actually motivate people to follow him. So I think he's a great leader. And one thing that I've always been so appreciative of Ryan is that he's extremely passionate about Romania, which took me a while to understand why. And sometimes he has more faith in the future of this country than us Romanians do. So I think that encapsulates Ryan pretty much.
I love this podcast. I'm going to play this over and over.
Yeah, I love it too. You're making my job here like so easy. It's almost like, why am I here? You're already doing an amazing job by yourself.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome. So, what's the best coffee? You're a coffee lover. What's the best coffee?
It's hard to say. It's not just one because I'm loyal to a few of them. But one of my favorites is Ziso in I forget the name of the metro. And I get a chance
right across the aproape.
Mm-hmm. That one, it's the smallest one. I can barely even fit inside. They say they're one of the smallest in Europe. I think it's true because it's literally just a walk up, but they actually have a door you can go in. And the coffee there is so good. He's always changing it up. So you got new, fresh stuff. It's close, somewhat close by, towards the west side of town at least, and just phenomenal coffee. So I love heading over there any chance I get. Oh yeah, and the people,
Black coffee or coffee with milk?
My choice. I can do both, but when I go out for coffee, I get a flat white. But around the office, it's just black espresso. But yeah, I like treating myself to a flat white when I'm out.
Awesome. So later on, I would like to also speak about the Mici part. Because I'm also a big fan of this. I know we are here at podcast de Cartier in Drumul Taberei, but have you tried the mici from abor?
Yes, I've had it. I've had mici all over. I've not had mici that I don't like. I'm not one of those connoisseurs where it's like I'm picky. I just think and love mici. It's like my love for Romania. I mean, I don't avoid certain parts of the country or anything like that. I just love it as a whole. Awesome. I've had bad coffee, and I will name and shame.
That's so good. Okay, so the good accelerator, the good bureau. I'm sorry, I hope I did not mispronounce the word bureau. I'm trying to pronounce it as well.
You got it.
Perfect.
You got it.
And you didn't tell us anything about the agency Boon that you are running.
Yeah, we got a lot of different things going. We like to do a wide variety of things. Maybe that comes from my desire for new and change and all types of stuff.
So you are an explorer.
A bit so. Yeah, we have a digital marketing agency. We build websites for clients primarily in the United States. We sell simple WordPress websites that look really nice and work really nice and help businesses grow. So we have a digital marketing agency as a social business. And for us, that means that there is a social purpose behind our business. It's much more than just making money. Mm-hmm. We want to have an impact with our clients, with our team, in our community. And so we started our business really as a way to fund and do nonprofit in Romania. And that's kind of our roots of sorts. So we have a digital marketing agency as well as a nonprofit.
That's so cool. That the agency's name is spelled agency Boon, which is pronounced Boon. Does it have anything in common with the word Bun in Romanian?
Yes. Yep. That's how that's what we were thinking of. So we like to put words and names that are hard for our clients and customers to pronounce. So and so Good Bureau, right, is a Romanian nonprofit. And Agency Boon is a really U.S.-focused digital marketing agency. So the word Boon, you got it right. I mean, the root word, pronunciation-wise, sounds like good in Romanian.
Yeah.
And there's actually, the connection is, the word boon is actually an English word that very few Americans have ever heard of, but it comes out of bon voyage. And boon means a timely gift or blessing. And so we want to be, as an agency, we want to be a blessing to our clients and the people we partner with. So you could make it sound, a bit like it's good agency, but Agency Boon is what we landed on.
Wow, that's super cool, and I'm very happy I got the idea before I understood the word before you explaining it.
Right, so, you got
it. Okay. One more question for you, and then I will start asking questions. Anca, why Romania? What's the story behind it? I mean, why Romania? How you got here? What made you stay here? How do you feel and how do you like Romania? Because it's not that common, It's not a move that many Americans do it like, hey, where do I move now? I go to Romania.
Yeah, it's not part of the stereotypical American dream to live in Romania. But for me, it was my dream. I started coming over here when I was just a kid. I was 12 years old, and I came over here volunteering. I came over with my dad. Our church took a trip to come over and volunteer with a local nonprofit. This was 1997. And at that time in Bucurest, there was thousands of kids under the age of 18, probably the average age being about 12, 13, living on the streets, especially around the Gata. And we came over and, just being a 12-year-old with my dad, I can say it changed my dad's life. And it opened his eyes to something he had never seen before. and felt like he wanted to do something. So he came back and he said, I don't know what it is, but we got to go back. So the next summer, when I was 13, you mentioned Obor. My family lived in Obor for about 10 weeks the next summer. We, quote unquote, moved to Romania for the summer and again, volunteered with that nonprofit. And I say, once you spend 10 weeks in a country, you either fall in love with it or you hate it. And I fell in love with it. And so by the time I was 17, I was pretty much coming over every summer, every chance I got. And when I was 17, I was here for, again, volunteering with an organization that went into orphanages at the time and volunteered. And I said at the age of 17, I said, I want to live here one day. And so 10 years later, that became a reality. My wife and I moved here. So we've been living, my wife and I, Andrea, have been living in Romania for about 8 years now. Mm-hmm. Working in the nonprofit sector and also in business, entrepreneurship. And we love it. It's home for us. And my son was born here. So he's not Român, but he's pretty darn close. He's not legally, but basically is. Yeah, I say I'll stay here until the government kicks me out. And my goal is to be buried here. I mean, I love Romania. It's home. And I love the people. Yeah. So for me, living my dream is being here.
That's so. I mean, that's so cool. I have goosebumps. Hearing your story, and I'm glad. I'm glad that you did this, and you are trying to do so many cool things. But what do you like about Romania that much? What's the best thing or the best things? Because I don't think there is only one thing that you love about it, since you said you want to live here for the rest of your life.
Yeah. To me, I mean, some of the foundational pieces, right? I mean, you just have a beautiful country. I mean, people, I tell Americans, people that haven't been here, I'm like, just start Googling and go to Google Images and type in Romania. And it's amazing. Mm-hmm. And so that's a piece of it. The other is the relationships, the people. I think, in America, we have this thing they call Southern hospitality. And there's this idea that, people in the South are nice and, welcoming and all that. And there's a hospitality strength that Romania has that I experienced that you just can't, you don't experience in the States. It's just different. So, I mean, in the relationships that I developed, even during those summers, were huge. So just friendships is another big factor for me. And then I'm an optimist. I want to have an impact with my life. I want my life to mean something. And I think that I have said this way. I think that I can play a part in bringing and encouraging change and transformation in the country. So I grew up, in history class reading about all these things like civil rights and, was the big one. That was, let's say it this way, civil rights and slavery and things like that were massive. It had a massive influence in my life because I'm just so against injustice. This idea that people are created equal and should be treated equal. And honestly, Romania still has a lot of progress to go in that direction. There's a lot of discrimination, a lot of stigma socially from all types of areas. And I want to see some of that change. And so I believe we have a chance to do that. That's happening in this country at this time. And so I think the history books in the future are going to reflect on this period of time. And I want to play my part in seeing some progress being made.
Cool. Thank you. Now it's your turn, Anca. The first question that I would like to ask you, since you are the person pulling the strings for the NGO, how would you explain to a child, to a small kid, what I'm mumbling. I'm really sorry. How would you explain to a small kid, to a child, what good bureau does?
You're doing great, actually, Claudio. I'm really impressed.
Thank you very much. You are too kind.
That's a very good question, and it took me a while to think about an answer. I hope it's a good one. I mean, it's an okay one. So we work with, just to give you like just an overview, we work with leaders, and these are the leaders that are basically on a mission to change Romania. They're all involved in projects that have a social impact. So,
sorry to interrupt you, but I'm just a small kid. What is a leader, and what is social impact?
Well, Claudia, I was talking to your parents. I'll get back to you right away. Okay, so you know how Superman has this kryptonite that keeps him away and kind of like interferes with him saving the world and fighting bad guys?
Yes, I love Superman. Yes, I love.
Well, there's so many supermen and women in our country. We call them superheroes. And what we do at Good Bureau is actually we help keep those superheroes fighting the bad people and saving the world. We're taking care of the kryptonite. We're making sure that they don't get pulled back and they have enough space, time, and courage to save the world and fight the bad guys.
Okay. I think I get it.
That's kind.
And how do you do it?
How do we do it? Yes. Oh, I'm talking to little Claudio or old Claudio.
So a little bit of context about the older Claudio. The older Claudio is digital communication and digital marketing strategist. Okay. And I got here doing this communication strategy because I don't have a specific set of skills that I can monetize, I can sell. But I'm a kind of a jack of all trades. I know a bit of everything. And put this in context of a very, very, very curious person, I got to do strategy. And one of the main things that drive me and push me forward doing this is the curiosity. So I always, 3 times always, ask myself why. Why do this? Why this way? Why? I always try to go 5 levels deep in terms of why to go to the essence. So that's why I always love to ask people, but why? But why? Because this also gets you out of the comfort zone. And there is the real essence of what people do and why they do it, especially since we are talking about such a beautiful and such impactful industry that you are working on. The NGO industry, and you are always doing good. But why? And how you do it. I'm curious about what's down deep there, inside of the things, not only on the surface.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think in order to maybe address that or answer in a more clear way, I would say let's start with the end result and then work our way back. I think our desire, our big dream is to see Romania change, to see Romania transform, to be a country where we're proud, to say we're Romanians. And we are. It's just, we want to be in a country that makes you feel proud you're part of all the time, 100%. In order to do that, in order for that change to happen, you need to address the issues that are keeping change. You can't fight everything by yourself. So in order, it would be impossible and over the top to think that we, Good Bureau, can change Romania or transform Romania. So the next step would be to look at who is doing that, who is addressing the issues that keep the change away. And what we've discovered is that there's already good happening. There's already people who are taking those steps into transforming the country. And we feel those people are the superheroes, the people that are involved in projects that address social issues, that have a social impact, and are keeping the country moving forward. Well, what is keeping them? What's the biggest thing that is keeping them not fulfilling their vision, their missions? Well, what we've discovered asking those questions is that leadership, entrepreneurship is lonely. And loneliness creates some nasty issues in our hearts, in our lives, and I think we've all been there. And that happens to these leaders as well. The thing that, one of the main things that keeps them away from accelerating their missions, accomplishing their vision, and changing this country is a lack of support. Whether financial support from a community or even connecting with the right people, these leaders lack support. So what we decided to do is, you know what, let's eradicate entrepreneurial loneliness, leadership loneliness. Let's make sure that these people keep doing what they're doing, because if they keep making progress, the country is going to change. So rather than us starting something or investing in something new, why not invest in something that's already happened? And that's how we decided to actually invest our resources and knowledge and everything that we have into 9 Romanian emerging leaders that are basically changing the country. So we started this program that's called the Good Accelerator, because we're all about doing good. And these are people that are not more or less known in the space, but these are all leaders that are addressing specific social issues, like fighting for Roma women rights, like fighting human trafficking, bringing education and progress in education. These are all leaders that are addressing some really hard issues in Romania, and we want to make sure that they have all the support they can get in order to keep doing what they're doing. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I don't have another why. I think you answered my question like really comprehensive. Yeah, I don't have another.
Hey. Right.
Yeah. Nailed it. Good job.
Yeah, you did it. Yes. You made Claudiu speechless.
Oh, yay! Thank you.
How do you feel the NGO market, especially given the worldwide circumstances that we already know that happened for the past year? How things change? How are things now in the new context? Are they moving forward? What's happening there?
I think, we oftentimes treat, society treats, especially in Romania, NGOs, nonprofits are treated, I'll say like second-class citizens sometimes. Meaning like they just are seen as less than businesses. And oftentimes, that's changing, thankfully. There's a generation that changed that. But by and large, society-wise, NGOs, and I think it's just because of financial reasons in the past, and there was a lot of illegal, people used nonprofits not for the most good reasons, and so there was this stigma on nonprofits. But what COVID has forced is it's forced everybody to innovate. Some smart person said that it basically just fast-forwarded time by 5 to 10 years to the future. And so it didn't change things for you. It just fast-forwarded to where it was already things. It brought to light problems that were already there and that were only going to intensify. It just magnified them and fast-forwarded there quicker. And what I mean by that is basically everybody and every group needs to be innovating to a certain degree. COVID forced that innovation. It's really difficult for nonprofits to innovate. And because innovation requires capacity, it requires finances, there's a whole nother level to it. And so while most businesses struggle to really innovate, nonprofits, it's even harder. And a big part of that is the financing, the funding model. There's not adequate financing for the nonprofits that are needed. And frankly, a lot of nonprofits are filling the gap of the lack of government. I mean, a lot of the nonprofits that exist are doing things the government should be doing, and they're plugging the holes oftentimes, and that there's a lack of financing for them. So I think a lot of nonprofits have struggled to innovate, not on their fault, but it's just they were already struggling before COVID. They were already struggling to keep. I say the picture I get is when I think of nonprofits, oftentimes most of them are literally struggling to keep their head above water. It's like they're in the deep end of the pool. And they know how to swim, but it takes all effort just to keep your head above water so you can keep breathing. And so COVID threw a big rock at them, and now they have a rock to carry too by going digital. So it is a difficult space, but many are thriving, and they're finding new ways to accomplish their mission digitally. The real challenge, I think, for them now will be how do they adapt as we quote unquote go back to our new normal. Because a lot of people are going to want to, it just returns to normal. No, It's not going to return to normal. But, and so it's going to be a struggle for both companies and nonprofits. But these leaders, from what we've seen, they've done awesome. I mean, our leaders that we're focused on this year in our accelerator, they're doing really well. And it's not because of us, Claudio. They would have done it without us. We just tried to give them some help. And so, for instance, one of a real tangible thing, one of the nonprofits we're connected to, they have a social business as well that's connected to their nonprofit, and they needed some financing at the beginning of when COVID hit. They were at a real cash flow problem, and we were able to connect them with an investor that wanted to invest at a very low rate to help them make it through this season. And he just told me the other day, he's like, that actually saved our business. And that's awesome. That's what we're here for. And all that was a simple introduction on our part, but we leveraged our relationship with both the investor and them as a nonprofit and business and put them together. And so sometimes a simple introduction can have a big impact in their work.
Yeah, that's true. And I think this period, it was a really big stress test that tested the heck out of the system. And I think it helped us, like everybody, because everybody was impacted, helped us challenge the status quo. Because, a smooth sea never created a skillful sailor. It made us have a try and have to find solutions, and I'm seeing industries, I'm seeing NGOs, I'm seeing companies that for them the digital part, the digitalization, the digital innovation was like, okay, we also have to do some social media and we also have to be there. That understood the power of the online and the power of digital, and they reinvented themselves, and it's crazy. And I'm 100% with you when you say it pushed us 5 years into the future, but with a very very hurtful push.
Yeah,
it hurt a bit.
Yeah, that's right.
Hopefully it will be okay, because I've talked a lot in the past months with NGOs. I did a lot of pro bono work myself, helping the NGOs with small campaigns, with everything that I was able to do. And I've seen some stories. I've seen some stories that are like, oh my God, and I think one of the big issues, not the biggest, but one of the big issues this year was education. Man, the education suffered a lot this year. What can we do about this?
Well, I think it's in front of us. Is it's interesting to me. The problem typically can, if you look at it correctly, I think, and historically we can see the problem also gives us a chance at the solution. And so digitalization for education, to me, is a big part of the answer. So I was talking to somebody that's looking at the education market in Romania, one of the leaders we have worked with, and she's all about thinking, how do we digitize and how do we provide online schooling for the future? Not just how do we get through it with online schooling right now, but I'm sorry, 16-year-olds in this country should be able to get their education online. Mm-hmm. And they should be able to access community locations or go into school a couple times a week. But by and large, they could get great education completely or highly augmented online. Mm-hmm. And so that to me is a big part of the future. And I know there's parts of the country where they don't have access to internet. We should be able to solve that pretty quickly over in the scheme of things in a matter of years. I just think a lot of the thinking that happens for a variety of reasons is short term. And if we really want to have substantial change, we need to think in decades. And mm-hmm. so in decades, Romania has had incredible progress. I mean, I experienced the decade gap. I came here, the last time I was here when I was a kid, when I was 17, was 2002, I think. Mm-hmm. And then I came back, I moved here in 2012.
So 10 years apart.
Changed a lot mm-hmm. in those 10 years. A lot. I mean, to the point where when I came back, I was like, man, do I still want to live here? I mean, it was really one of the filters going in. And I was nervous about that because it's 10 years later. And yet there is some real progress in that scheme. So I think education and the digitalization of the education 10 years from now is a massive learning and opportunity for us to digitize our education experience, because quote unquote, the infrastructure of education right now is really poor by and large. And so, when I read some report, I saw there was, 30, 40, a certain percentage of kids in this country go to a school without indoor plumbing.
Yep.
And that percentage is whatever it is, it's not okay, right? We all agree on that. Well, and most likely those same students might not have indoor plumbing at home either, potentially. But we need to provide them opportunities to get a great education. And I think that can be done online, and it's the great equalizer. Online. Yep. And Romania has benefited from this in the business space this is some people call this the outsourcing valley of Europe. It is a great IT talent hub. And when you're 19, you're able to get a job, or 21, getting a job in IT. What if we were able to be preparing them at 16 and they're able to actually be getting their education online? And then a young person in the middle of a small remote village in the country could be getting and hearing the same educator as somebody that lives downtown Bucharest, and be able to connect. And young people, you know this as well as I do, Claudio, young people are fine connecting online. Yep. They have phenomenal relationships, quote-unquote relationships, by literally subscribing to YouTubers and influencers who are educating them on a daily basis. And so there's a big opportunity, in my opinion, when we talk about digitalizing education.
Yeah, because the young generation grew with the laptop, the computer, the smartphone, or at least some of them. Because I saw that the segregation is pretty bad. You have the big city people who have access, and you have the smaller cities or the villages, the remote villages. They sometimes, they don't have the indoor plumbing. They don't have electricity. But I loved it when you said it that online education is the great equalizer, because
it has the potential. Yeah, we can give them the right tools.
Yeah, because
they need the equipment and they need the internet. And thankfully, we have great companies in this country that can, if they were incentivized to build out the infrastructure, meaning put internet into those communities where they can't, which they are to some degree, but they could easily be more incentivized by the government, I would think, and then provide them the equipment to access.
Yeah, because I think that's a great pool of talent over there. It's undiscovered talent that did not have access to the required tools.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, it's a very long conversation, this one, and I'm all about education. I think, again, the education is the cornerstone of any society, and without education, we cannot solve so many problems. I think we are very close in terms of age, and I think we are one of the last generations that were born before the internet, because officially I think the internet connection started to be widely available in around 93, 94, something about that. I was born in 86, so I was about 6-7 years when it started. So it's very interesting talking about education, digitalization, and how the young people can adapt and search and find everything they need online. I think we were the last generation that actually didn't have access to all these gadgets. So we had to get out and play with people, with rocks and toys and stuff. But then we experienced the first internet connections, like I think the dial-up internet, when you waited, and my mom was, Claudia, turn the internet off, I have to make a phone call, and stuff like this. And then the first computers, the first laptops, the first smartphones, the first tablets, we experienced it all.
That's right.
But they were born with those things,
Yep.
What do you think is the next step in terms of the NGO movement in Romania, the education stuff? What are your prognosis? No, what are your forecasts?
Futuristic, I think there's going to be less nonprofits and more businesses. I think we're going to move, and this is long term, like decades away. We're seeing more and more of a shift at least in the United States, and I think that eventually finds its way to Romania. That we find that the real problem solvers are businesses, because again, the problem is opportunity, and so they are able to innovate. Nonprofits are not typically able to innovate that much, and so I think we'll see more entrepreneurs that want to do good in society, and they're going to choose a for-profit model versus choosing a non-profit model. And because there really is not a big difference, at least the United States has the code, and it's very similar to Romania. You basically, they're legal entities. One of them chooses at the end of the year or quarterly, there could be distributions and dividends that are taken into your own pocket. The other doesn't allow you to do that. And so there's not a lot of differences between them, in my opinion. It's what really comes out is in the mind of the leader, who is typically entrepreneurial, that wants to start something. And so I think we're going to see more businesses started with a social impact involvement and with a desire to do good through their business. This idea of social enterprises and social businesses is growing, but I don't think in the future a young person has to decide, I'm going to start a business or I'm going to start a social business. I think they're going to start a business with social impact.
So it's a paradigm shift, and it's a shift in the model, in the running model, right?
Yeah. I think it's a big mindset shift. I think it's for instance, I mean, if you and I wanted to talk about tonight about employing vulnerable people in Bucharest, we could start a nonprofit to do it, or we can recognize that Anca Enache is already doing it at scale. And that's a great place for somebody to get a first job that maybe has a vulnerable background. And so we don't necessarily need a bunch of social enterprises. We need enterprise to be more social. And it is trending that way, thankfully, with CSR and other opportunities. And the most innovative companies don't just see it as a little CSR department. They actually see it as this is our whole business.
Yep.
And so more of that thinking, I think, will sink in coming years.
yeah, it's very interesting because I think in the past 5-7 years, things like I've seen a lot of changes, and I cannot forecast now. I think I cannot predict now where things will go, but I think that if more people understand that the business aspects, they understand the financing, they understand how a business works, they can have a better impact in everything at the end of the year, because doing good without resources doesn't have a great impact. Mm-hmm. And the resources, and mainly the financial resources, that translates in money, translates in human resources, translates into assets, or donations, like a project that I got involved in the past two weeks, providing tablets to the kids in the rural area to get the education. They all need money. Money is the oxygen, is the breathing air for each entity, either an NGO or a company. I want to also ask Anca about this. How do you see the things? How do you see things? Because you were born in Bucharest, in Drumul Taberei, I think at Trei Ligheane.
Near Trei Ligheane, yes.
Yeah, I love that.
The old Trei Ligheane.
Yeah, I had to say it. And you've seen the evolution of the neighborhood. You've seen the evolution of Bucharest. You've seen the evolution of the country. You work there. You are like exactly in the middle of the things. How do you see the future in terms of NGOs and education doing good?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I don't know if I'm like in the right position maybe to see or state my I don't know, vision about the future. One thing that I definitely think needs to improve, and I think it is happening, is this divisive context here in Romania. I mean, we're talking about education, and yet Romania still is the second country after Syria that has the most people leaving the country to study outside. After Syria, it's Romania, and they're in a civil war. And then it's Romania. So if we want to bring that change, we need to make sure we keep our educated people in the country. I think that's one of the things that need to change and happen. And another thing is, I feel like based on how we work and like even the NGO environment, I think things are still so disconnected. Like everyone has their own piece. You have the government investing in education, and then you have NGOs that are doing investing in education in the rural area or cities. Then you have other NGOs that are fighting human trafficking, but they're not working together. You have all these small little girls that don't have access to education. They're in a vulnerable village, and they're being taken advantage of and being abused because they don't have access to education. So if everyone works together to protect these people, then maybe they'll be the leaders that will bring change. So I would say I would love to see more of the Romanian society coming together and working together, because I think that's the way to address these issues. I feel like even right now, people are so like, what's the word in Romanian, like self-preserved, there's two NGOs that are working in human trafficking, and they're in competition. Mm-hmm. We shouldn't be in competition with each other. We should help each other, because only together we can bring the change. But I think that's what I would love to see.
I think we are getting close to the end of the available time. I think we are already 50 minutes into it. in the end, the big question. This podcast is a good communication platform. You have hundreds of people listening it. How exactly we, the regular people that are not involved with any NGOs, we have a job, we have a business, and we are trying to make our things work. How can we help? How can we get involved? How can we try to have a better impact? What can we do?
Yeah, it's hard to prescribe that across the board, right? But I would recommend, number one, people identify what they're passionate about, what they actually like, or what they dislike. What's the issue that actually motivates you to do something? The way a book I said, what makes you pound your fist on the table? Like, what frustrates you? So for you, you mentioned education, right? You mentioned you've been involved in helping a nonprofit get the tablets out. Like, yeah, education. So if that's your issue, okay, great. And now look for where you can, and then also identify what is your skill set? What value do you bring the market? So you're using your skill sets in digital marketing strategy, and what is that you could do? And then find and research and find a place that you could apply your skill sets. What I would say is we don't necessarily need a bunch of people to go start new nonprofits. We need, like Anca said, more unity in the nonprofit space. And frankly, the heart of it is pride. I'll say it bluntly. And when we are prideful, it really hinders progress. Mm-hmm. And so don't necessarily go start another nonprofit. Actually, maybe you go join another nonprofit. And the reason most people don't go join another nonprofit is because they don't like the leader of that nonprofit, because that leader is not leading very well. I'll say it that way. Again, it comes back to leadership. And so I would say if they can identify their passion, if they can identify what the value they could bring, and then identify a place they could apply that value. And it doesn't need to be in a nonprofit. It can be in their work. That's the piece I encourage people. Find it in your work, and because it will bring more fulfillment to your work. The most cutting edge, best companies, best places to work on the globe are encouraging and actually pay their employees to volunteer. Mm-hmm. And it's called volunteer time off. Just like you have 21 days of vacation or more as an employee in Romania, you actually have days of volunteer off time. Mm-hmm. Some companies in Romania are doing this. More will do it in the future because it's a great perk. And they realize that it makes you enjoy work more when you realize your work matters. You're not just selling a widget to something. You're actually bringing impact. And so I think there'll be more of that. So I would encourage people, find a place to volunteer, find a place where you can do good through your work with your skill sets. There's so many great things happening across this country. I mean, if they're listening to this, they're already aware of somewhat of a level of community awareness, right? I mean, this podcast is that, and that's awesome. And there's opportunities all the time popping up in Romania. We try to present as much as we can on Good Bureau social media for opportunities for people to quote unquote do good. One of them right now, and this podcast probably won't be released in time for it, but it's every year around this time. And the reason I bring it up is it's a Cartier Hub native project, and it's because some of the leadership team meets at the Hub to discuss Giving Tuesday. Is a phenomenal opportunity, and this year it's an entire week opportunity to be generous, and Romania is so generous because hospitality is generosity. Yep. And so Romania is an incredibly generous country. And so Giving Tuesday, and then throughout the year, they have opportunities on Galanton on the website to donate your birthday. I think that is a really easy way for somebody to quote unquote give back by sacrificing, getting some gifts from Cartier or wherever their friends are going to buy them gifts, and actually donate their birthday to a nonprofit of their choice. And when you do that, number one, the people that are giving you gifts that are going to make the donations, they feel really good. Donating it's better than receiving. Giving is better than receiving. And then you also feel really good knowing that your birthday had a real tangible impact. I mean, how cool would it be? Do you want a tablet, or do you want to see 5 kids in the village get a tablet so they can get an education? And so I think these types of real tangible things are things that everybody hopefully can do.
Yeah, I would agree. I think I was actually thinking about the same event, Giving Tuesday. It's pretty awesome that in Romania is the only one that has a whole week of generosity. So in other countries, it's just one day. It's the first Tuesday after the Black Friday, where people, spend a lot of money and now they feel the need to give a little bit back. But like the core essence of Giving Tuesday is that everyone has something to give. And I would say it's the mindset. It's training our mindset that it's not other people who should change or give something back. It's not only the NGOs or those that sacrifice their time and lives or whatever. It's every one of us. And giving and being generous means being generous with your time, being generous with your attention, and doing just a little bit more for the people around you. So I would definitely say we should all start with that change of mindset, that everyone has something to give and we should do it.
So let me just recap and make sure that I got it right. First, just a little bit tweak in the mindset that you can do good with little effort, and you'll start enjoying it. And then maybe only if you want to, you'll give back more. And to get involved more in this, you start with the passions that you have,
mm-hmm.
And then you go to the things that you know how to do,
mm-hmm.
and then you see what the society needs. And at the intersection of these three, it's the place to start. Because
mm-hmm.
if you found your ikigai, I think you know maybe the concept. If you found your ikigai, there are a lot of opportunities. There are a lot of NGOs that most probably already tried to handle that issue.
Yeah. Yep.
But start. The first, how's the word? Journey of 1,000 steps starts with the first one. I think.
That's it. And they're doing it. They're listening to this podcast,
mm-hmm.
which means they're aware of their neighborhood, they care, and they're curious, like you said. And so turn that inside about yourself, and also turn it out to your community, and be curious about how you can do good in this country and bring about that transformation we all want.
Yeah. Since this is the last podcast of the year, I really have to thank to everybody in this amazing neighborhood in the Drumul Taberei neighborhood. And I think you already know, but I am pretty sure that Drumul Taberei is one of the most active neighborhoods in terms of involvement and NGOs. I think it's the biggest number of grupuri de inițiativă. Initiative groups, I think. I don't know the exact word in English. I'm sorry. And a lot of movements and a lot of NGOs, and I'm really glad to be part of this project. And I'm really grateful for Cartier Hub, who really does a good job trying to put as many people who want to do good at the same table.
That's right. Yep. I think you guys are really a leader in this, and I think seeing from an outside perspective, seeing a mall and a business development behind the mall invest in a project like Cartier Hub is the exact example of what I'm talking about. Yep. It's a business that actually cares about its community and is investing to actually create a space for people to get involved and do something. So when I went to Cartier Hub for the first time, I was so encouraged to see entrepreneurs and leaders in a space that was dedicated to helping members in the community make that impact we all want to see.
Yep.
So it's a rare place where you can gather and find other like-minded people. And so it's awesome what you all are doing. I'm thankful for it. And I think that model will be replicated across the country because it's necessary. We need Cartier Hubs all over the nation to provide this type of space. So really appreciate you guys, and we're honored to be part of this and glad to be in the neighborhood.
Yes, and thank you for being such a great host, Claudio. We've had a great time. It felt like we were just chatting.
Yeah, and it's almost 1 hour since we started when we hit record, because we have another 10 minutes before hitting the record button. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your involvement and for everything that you do. And keep up the good work. And for the people that are listening to us, have an amazing December. Try to stay safe. Try to enjoy as much as possible. Try to give back as little as you can. No pressure there. And let's hear ourselves next year.
Sounds great.
Thank you very much.
Some beach. Why not?
Yes, I'm waiting for the sarmale. I'm a big sarmale fan. With the viță de vie, not the cabbage.
I mean, I have an opportunity, so I'm going to do a request. I mean, if there happens to be any grandmothers, any bunicas in this neighborhood that wants to adopt a big American grandson and give him sarmale throughout the year and feed him, I am adoptable. I'm available. I've been looking for a boonie for many years. I'm looking for my Romanian boonie. And I'll pay for it.
So we know what we do in the second day of the Christmas. Exactly. I will come and bring you some homemade sarmale by myself.
Oh wow! Oh, nice.
Yes, I have a very good slow cooker recipe.
Oh, nice. All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah. Have an amazing day, everybody.